Our guy John Syrian's asking about the recruiting approach of Brent Venables versus Lincoln Riley. What do you think the differences are?
I mean, it couldn't be more different, Mark. I mean, I think just in general, I think when you look at what Riley's recruiting process was, it was I don't want to say it was high pressure, but I think from a recruiting perspective, they looked to get a lot of commitments early. They looked to and like I said, I don't know that it's necessarily pressure, but I think they were confident. I think that the approach was, Riley and team was confident that this was going to be the spot that they wanted to go. And hey, if you want to go take other visits, go take other visits, but we anticipate that this is going to be the place that you want to go. Whereas Venables has really been the opposite. I mean, yeah, I mean, I think you instill that in these kids that Oklahoma is the place where you want to be, but he's enticed these kids not to make commitments, early on. Take your visits, enjoy the process, and hey, come back to us if Oklahoma's the place that you really want to be. And at that point, his expectations is, you're done. We're not playing the game anymore. Once you commit to Oklahoma, you know, no more visits. And so I think that's been different. And as you see, I know this was kind of made its way through the um, through the Oklahoma circle the last couple of days that USC quarterback Malachi Nelson, who obviously was committed to Oklahoma, now committed to USC, is visiting Texas A&M this weekend, and so you see some of those kids. Obviously Riley's a tremendous recruiter, but I think you in terms of the approach, you've seen with Riley a decent amount of decommits later in the cycle, where the hope and the approach that Venables has taken at Clemson here has been successful, where there's been very few decommits, and so we'll see how that kind of translates this year for Oklahoma. But I think those are the two biggest, I think, differences in terms of approach. And I think what's happening from everything that I understand, I think there's a lot of broken promises. I think that happen, and I'm sure that happens in recruiting all the time. But I think it seems to have happened a little bit more from the Riley perspective than it has with Venables and staff. So we'll see how that continues to progress. But there's a lot of noise out of the USC camp that not only some of these kids that have committed, for the 2023-24 cycle, but even a couple of current kids on campus that maybe what they were promised to come to USC isn't exactly what the reality is.